Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I've just come from a threesome with Helen Mirren and Dame Judi Dench.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou by writer, producer, director Wes Anderson. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Steve Zissou, played by Bill Murray, who is an oceanographic biologist documentarist. Steve's old partner has just been eaten by a jaguar shark, but nobody believes him. So Steve sets out to hunt down this fabled creature and prove to the world that it exists. At the same time, he is currently looking for funding from his film producer. He is trying to keep his crew from mutinying, and he is also being joined by Ned, played by Owen Wilson, who might just be his son.
I'm just going to say straight off the bat, I am a huge Wes Anderson fan and have been since I caught an early screening of Rushmore back in 1998. Of course, Wes Anderson has kind of got a marmite, a kind of love-hate relationship with film critics. You either really like his films or you really don't. Wes Anderson got a big break back in 1996 with Bottle Rocket, which also starred Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson would also go on to be sort of a co-script writer with Wes Anderson for most of his early work before Owen Wilson would go on to become the sort of heartthrob actor that he's well known for now. Of course, Rushmore in 1998 is Wes Anderson's big breakout movie for me. It was also where he started working with Bill Murray and will continue to work with Bill Murray for every film henceforth. He would go into 2001 with The Royal Tenenbaums, which for me was the sort of film that I wasn't aware of Wes Anderson at the time. And it was one of those films that just made me go, I don't quite get it. Maybe I'm too young for this, but it just seemed like a drama where nothing happened. But lo and behold, it's more about characters dealing with complicated issues that the film sort of dabbles lightly with. And that's sort of one of Wes Anderson's staples. That would continue into the Darjeeling Limited, which is about three brothers on a train, essentially. Then he would go on to an animated feature, The Fantastic Mr. Fox, 2009. And then The Moonrise Kingdom in 2012, which is about two kids running away together, which is really sweet and really fun to watch. And then, of course, in 2014, The Grand Budapest Hotel, which was Oscar nominated, which again was just a staple of Wes Anderson's career up to this point, a culmination of all of his great writing, is all of the great performances he gets from his actors just coming together in a great film. But The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, is really regarded as one of his weaker films.
No. See, I'm just going to chuck this out here now. I fucking love Wes Anderson. I just love this film. I remember this film was on Film 4 like a couple of years ago, and I just managed to sit down and watch The Fantastic Mr. Fox. And obviously based on the book by Roald Dahl, if you were growing up in the UK during the 80s or 90s, you were reading Roald Dahl all the fucking time. And The Fantastic Mr. Fox is absolutely amazing. And when I saw this animated film, it literally blew me away, because there's not many films nowadays that do stop motion, animations. And I absolutely loved it. I loved the voice acting in it. I just loved the storyline to it. It made me feel like a kid again. Luckily for me, a couple of weeks after that, Moonrise Kingdom was on. And I'm like, I've got to watch that, because it's done by the same director. And I absolutely fell in love with the movie. It was just, same with Fantastic Mr. Fox, made me feel like a kid, made me just throw away all my cares, fall into this fantasy world and just go with it. And then luckily, a couple of weeks after that, The Life Aquatic was on, and I sat down and watched it. And there are those films that we always say, there's those films that you can kind of just switch your brain off, and it's a no-brainer, and it's usually action movies. Lots of explosions, lots of girls running around in bikinis and stupid things happening. For me, that's what I get with Life Aquatic. My brain switches off. I sit down with this fantasy realm with all of my favourite actors from the last 30 years in in these crazily animated, strange situations with things that I can understand and things that I don't understand, but I just don't give a shit because I'm just having so much fun.
Hey, Stephen, how's everything going with your, what do you call him, a leopard? Fish?
Jaguar shark.
Jaguar shark. Exactly. I love it. Tell me something, does it actually exist?
You know, Allie, I don't want to give away the ending.
Good man.
Well, that's the thing. I kind of have. Initially I had the same reaction to Wes Anderson films as I did to Coen Brothers movies.
Yeah.
Whereas that on first viewing, I'm like, this is garbage. This is rubbish. This is shallow. It's not doing anything for me. But on the second viewing, I go, oh my God, did you see that film? It was amazing. The depth of these characters, the genius of the camera movements.
Yeah.
But it's always on a second viewing. And I always find that quite bizarre because, again, with The Life Aquatic, the first time watching this film, I was like, this is really dull. The characters are cartoonish. Nothing really has any depth. And then, and nothing happens towards the end. And I was just like, it just kind of felt like a shallow experience. And then many years later, rewatching the film, and now The Life Aquatic is one of those films that I watch almost every year.
Yeah.
And again, when I sat down to watch this film to review it, I got pen and paper ready to make notes. 2 minutes into the film, the pen and paper was on the floor and I didn't write a single thing until the film ended again.
Yeah.
And that is my recommendation there, that this film just takes you. It takes you with the rest of the characters on this journey. It is a road trip movie, or more of a boat trip movie, where these characters spend the majority of the time at sea trying to chase after this legendary jaguar shark and to kind of prove whether it exists or doesn't. And that's the kind of questions that you're asking the main character, who's brilliantly played here by Bill Murray. And he is on the quest to kind of get revenge, if you will, for his friend being killed off camera at the beginning of the film. Yeah. The film opens with this documentary style nature where we're being told this story. And it kind of feels like a very dated, very sort of 1960s, 70s documentary.
Yeah, obviously it's kind of loosely based on Jacques Cousteau, isn't it?
Exactly, right down to their sort of red woolen sailor hats that they wear. And so it's a very nice nod there. The point in the film where I put the pen and paper down really and was taken away by it again is this fantastic shot where the film almost becomes documentary-esque. And we're given this cutout of the ship, almost cut through the middle.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And you can see all of the characters in all their locations on the ship doing their work. And the camera just pans through this set.
Yeah.
And it's like a continuous take as actors move around this great big set. And it's just at that point you're like, I know I'm watching a film. I know it's being documentary style, but it's also almost fairy tale.
Yeah.
It's almost fantasy land.
It's like the actors are having so much fun playing these parts. You know, like Gary said, that one shot, it's actually one of my favorite scenes in the film. He just starts showing you all the different rooms of the Belafonte, but the level of detail they must have gone into to build that set, getting all the actors into those positions, getting them to do their little things, detailing exactly what goes on. I believed that ship existed and I wanted to be part of the crew. I wanted to find this shark. What I think is also brilliant about this film, I mean, I haven't seen all of Wes Anderson's movie. I don't know if it applies for every single one. But this film, it's like, when people say that films have multiple layers and you work your way down, this film starts with, like, Steve's layer. And then multiple layers get put on top of it as the film goes on. And I can understand how people might get lost saying, oh, there's too much going on. But as the film keeps going on, you start to work your way back down through the layers until you get back to Steve. And you realise that he is kind of the main core, with his wife, played by the fucking awesome Anjelica Huston. You've got Ned, played by, I think Owen Wilson's absolutely brilliant.
He is a fantastic actor. He kind of he had a big break with Armageddon.
Yeah.
That was where his face got well seen by everybody. But since then, he's had some really straight to DVD nonsense, goofy teen comedy movies.
I don't know. Drill Bit Taylor. I will say, Drill Bit Taylor is kind of one of my favourite films. It's just really fun. If you take him in small doses.
Yeah.
If you take him in small doses, he's absolutely fun. I wouldn't suggest watching every Owen Wilson film ever, but every now and again, you just take him and he'll just make you laugh.
Here.
Oh, no.
No exceptions. Everyone gets one.
Anne-Marie, do the interns get Glocks?
No, they all share one.
Take it, Ned.
The wonderful Cate Blanchett in this
She's
movie.
almost unrecognizable in this film. It's
Yeah.
just she
I
came
had to-
across as so genuine and so real.
I had to really go back and Wikipedia her page and be like, she was Galadriel. Because I didn't
I
recognise
think she
her.
looks amazing in this film.
Oh, Willem Dafoe.
William Dafoe is a chameleon, but I've got to say, William Dafoe has had these tiny little cameo appearances or these small roles in almost every Wes Anderson film.
Yeah.
And Klaus from The Life Aquatic is one of my absolute favourites. He has my favourite scenes in the film. He spends the whole film trying to get Steve's appreciation,
Yeah.
his respect and admiration, and gets really jealous when Steve's estranged son turns up.
Yeah.
And I love the interplay between those.
Michael Gambon. I mean, goddamn. First off, he's fucking Dumbledore. You know, it's very hard to beat somebody who's managed to establish a film series with just his presence alone. But then at the same time, he was absolutely brilliant in Layer Cake, and there are probably millions of films that I can't remember or can't name where his placement has been brilliant. Jeff Goldblum. Oh my God, I totally forgot Jeff Goldblum was in this film. And then I was like, he's a complete ass. But as the film develops, and, you know, you're just like, he's so brilliant in just things that he does.
Be still, Cody.
And I know Gary's going to get well excited with this one. Bud Cort.
Of course, he was the voice of the computer Edgar from Electric Dreams. I mean, of course, you never see him in that film, but I always like to nod all the other film roles he's had since then.
Let's not bring up Bates Motel.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like we said, you know, Steve has lost his friend. He wants to go on this revenge trip. And one of the things I think is fun is that this film is a hell of a lot better than Jaws the Revenge. I just wanted to throw that in there. And he's going around and he's trying to get this money to send him out on this trip. And obviously nobody wants to do it because they don't believe him. You know, they think he killed his partner himself. You know, like Gary said, he's losing his stardom. His films have become a bit shit. Jeff Goldblum's character is kind of taken over that role and taken all the funding. But you're like, come on, we need to get out there. And just the development and the mystery of, is Ned his son? You know, and finding out the little bits about Ned's mum and how she took her own life, which kind of brings you down. But for me, makes me feel slightly better to know that, you know, it's like the way that Owen Wilson delivers it. She was in a lot of pain and she had all these things wrong with her, but she just couldn't live with it anymore. So she took her own life. Oh, and by the way, she left me $275,000. Do you need it to go on your trip? And I'm like,
See, this is the things where people are like, okay, well, the character of Steve Zissou is a complete asshole the entire film. And you can sort of see it. And because with the character of Steve, he's just like, I don't care that you're my estranged son. I wish nothing to do with you. And of course, that would play out throughout the rest of the film. But as soon as Ned goes, yeah, I've got the money that you would need to fund this expedition, he's like, welcome aboard. And it's like,
well, their relationship kind of develops a bit more when Ned actually starts to force him, not force himself, but bring up questions, because we find out that he at a very young age he was part of the Zissou society. He's got his own little ring, and it's like when they're on the beach and they're looking at those glowing jellyfish late at night. You know, you can see why Steve's films are starting to drop, because, you know, he's the main star. But as soon as Ned says something, everybody looks at him like, oh, you shouldn't be talking on camera. You know, we're not allowed to do that. But Bill, you know, Steve's character is like, keep doing that. I want to make you part of the crew, because in a way he kind of thinks out of the box.
yeah.
You know, he
decides to make it as a double act because it might, you know, present him better.
Yeah.
Basically, because it's his ego and he's only thinking about himself, trying to elevate himself and using his son or his potential son to do so.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people can sort of be aggravated or not like the Steve character, which you have to get through the whole film to sort of see it come full circle. And what I like about Wes Anderson films is that their lead characters are always deeply flawed characters.
Yes.
And it's sort of coming to an understanding and dealing with these characters and watching them evolve and change through the course of the film, which makes these films a delight to watch.
I mean, actually, before we carry on, I just want to say this. If you don't like Bill Murray, fuck off.
Supposedly, Cousteau and his cronies invented the idea of putting walkie-talkies into the helmet. But we made ours with a special rabbit ear on the top so we could pipe in some music.
He's awesome.
Well, for me, this was the point when Bill Murray made a dramatic shift in the sort of films that he was making. From just before working on this film, he had just finished Lost in Translation, which
Yeah.
of course won him multiple awards, to which he wasn't even able to receive because he was off filming this next film. And it's sort of a dramatic change.
Yeah.
And he was just able to balance the comedy with the drama so well.
That's it. I mean, Lost in Translation, Broken Flowers. There's a lot of films where you sit down and think, oh, it's Bill Murray. It's going to be funny. But it's not. And some people diss them. You know, they're just like, I mean, I found it hard to sit through Lost in Translation the very first time I watched it. Now, much like with The Life Aquatic, I just get pulled along. I'm just like, it's fucking Bill Murray. You know, I don't care if he makes me laugh or not. I love just his presence.
The character he's playing is just brought to life.
Exactly,
brilliantly,
yeah. His character. I don't see Bill Murray anymore. I see the character he is giving to me on camera. And like with Life Aquatic, like I said, the fantasy element of him being Steve Zissou, I want to be part of his society.
I love the fantastical parts of the film where it sort of breaks the fourth wall and reminds you that it is a film.
Yeah.
And of course, like the half-cut ship. There's also the scene where the boy hands him a water bag and it's got this rainbow seahorse inside it. And you're just like, how colourful and CGI is this? And of course, there'd be some other underwater creatures that are just placed there. And it's like, am I watching the documentary film that these characters are making?
Yeah,
Where they
yeah.
digitally put in these extra things to sort of soup up the documentary?
Yeah.
Or are we just being shown these things because of the fantastical nature of the film?
Is that one of mine? I think one of my research turtles survived.
Every set piece is just, I don't know if it's the way that they build it, the way they design it, or the way they film it, but it's just amazingly done. Steve's Island that they go to, the Belafonte, the scientific undersea laboratory they go to steal stuff from Jeff Goldblum's character. When they go down underwater, every set piece that they go to is just brilliantly done and brilliantly filmed. And that's why after a while, like Gary said, after a while I just wrote awesome set pieces, put the pen down and closed my book and just carried on watching the film. Obviously, as well, try not to overpraise this movie. The soundtrack. David Bowie songs being played by one of the crew in Portuguese.
Who actually translated and wrote and performed the songs. Yeah.
It's just amazing, because it just, like we said, it kind of just goes along with the fantastical, silly nature of the film. It's like they're saying, oh yeah, the film's in the real world, and in this world we have David Bowie, but this crewmate can't speak English. He can only speak Portuguese. So he's going to sing the songs in Portuguese. And I kind of sit there just kind of hearing the song, the English version in my head, but listening to the guy in Portuguese.
Well, the film would occasionally then cut to the actual David Bowie song for
Yeah.
the really poignant moments in the film, which really strike home. It works.
Da sua língua, então vem, quero abraçar você. Seu poder vem do sol, minha medida, então vem, vamos viver a vida, meu bem.
One of the genius things that I thought that Wes Anderson did as a director here, when it came to the editing, was that he decided that if you're going to be filming on boats the whole time, you expect the camera to sort of rock back and forth the whole time. Whereas he looked back at a previous film, and that film was mostly set at sea.
Right.
And the director decided that he would have one shot near the beginning where the camera sort of rocks slightly.
Yeah.
And then for the rest of the film, it doesn't rock at all. So you have that one moment where it sets you up as an audience that you're on a boat and it's rocking.
Yeah.
And you don't need to have a rocking camera the rest of the time. I just think it's just genius and just psychological, and just the minute detail of those sort of things that go into the filmmaking of this film just elevates it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realise that. But now thinking back, they could have been tied up to an island or a harbour and not be out at sea. But the way it's filmed makes you believe they're right out in the middle of the ocean. You know, you just kind of get lost. I love the bit. They get told they're going into unprotected waters. And Steve spots pirates, and they're like, did you see them? Who's on watch? Oh, Kingsley's on watch. Who the fuck is Kingsley Zissou? Oh, it's Ned. Ned changed his name. And they get ambushed by pirates. And like I said, the fantastical nature is that the pirates are obviously are in present day. They've got guns, they're ready to kill these people. But they only know about this ship because they've been watching Steve Zissou documentaries and found out he's got a safe full of money on board.
Well, what I like is that when they're all being held hostage, or they're all being, they're all tied up, and they're about to take their accountant away with them, or their banker.
Yeah, they're going to take Edgar away.
Yeah, and so, but Steve's just like, right, that's it. This is the moment, and he breaks free of his restraints.
He gets crazy eye.
He overthrows one of the pirates, takes the gun, and goes on a die-hard spree through his ship, and I'm just like, this guy's a documentary filmmaker, and all of a sudden he's dual-wielding handguns and he's reclaiming a ship like a superhero. And I'm like, is this staged? Steve, did you hire these pirates and get your film crew so that you could shoot this for the documentary? It's like, are they making a hero out of him, or is this just fantastic? Just
for me, it says to me that Steve was always pretty badass, but as he's gotten older, and he's allowed himself to heavily drink, and we see him smoke weed a lot in this film, and obviously get drawn into the craziness of being a celebrity. His skills have started to diminish. But at that moment, he was so angry that he couldn't avenge his friend's death. To find this shark, he wanted to get these people off the boat. He wanted to protect his crew. And so, it's like later on when they catch up with the pirates again, and there's that beautiful shot of all the pirates pulling out guns and shooting out the room. There's like 20 pirates firing out the room, and then it cuts. The camera slides along to Steve being the only guy at the doorway firing, and he runs into the room. And you're like, yes!
But then all you can hear from the outside is everyone else looking around as there's like World War III going on inside that room.
It's just so brilliant, the build-up for that. You've been following Jeff Goldblum's character kind of being a dick to Steve's character, who's also a dick. So you got these two dicks fucking clashing.
Fold.
For me personally, it's a phenomenal movie. I already said at the beginning, I just get lost into the fantasy of this movie. My favourite scenes, Steve talking through the cutout of the Belafonte, absolutely just beautifully filmed and done and acted through everybody. Even the set designers did a brilliant job there. The whole thing of the pirate scene, from the moment they turn up with the guy playing the guitar to the moment Steve forces them off by firing the gun. Ned and Steve's argument when they walk through the ship. You know, it's just like the Belafonte scene, and you're just following them walk through all these different locations, and you've got Willem Dafoe sat in the sauna room, you've got the cameraman doing his thing, you've got the editor doing his thing, Cate Blanchett turns up at one point. It's awesome. The assault on Ping Island, the way they come out of the water and the camera follows them along, then they split up into teams and they move through the buildings like fucking Rainbow Six. It's absolutely amazing. And then ultimately finding the jaguar shark. Everything you've been waiting for since the start of the movie comes to fruition, and you're sat there just like the other people in the sub. And I love the fact, I only noticed this last night, that it says in the sub, do not exceed holding 6 people, and yet there's like 12 of them in there. You know, and just the whole film is amazingly beautiful.
The whole film is a favourite scene. It's one of those films that I watch every so often, and I never intend to watch all of the film, but it's impossible to break away from it.
Yeah.
This story just captivates you. It's just, the characters are just so cartoonish, but so believable, especially once you start to realise that they're complicated characters. Now, usually in a Wes Anderson film, a lot of the characters are dealing with sort of internal struggles and conflicts, whereas in this one, they are, but they're more dealing with the things that are happening around them. It's like with pirates or with just certain things happening, things going wrong around them, which sort of makes this film a lot more plot-driven than any other Wes Anderson film. The film does culminate in quite an emotional, impactful ending, which you sort of don't expect it in this film, but it really does drive the ending of the film home and remind you that this is, you know, the story of Steve Zissou and sort of the things that have affected him and made him the person who he is by the end of the film. A lot of I guess sort of my most memorable and favourite scenes include, the boat half opened up, the scenes with Ned and Cate, sort of their blossoming relationship that occurs throughout the film is really nice. Sort of the jealous sort of nature of Steve's character as well, sort of realising that he's sort of maybe too old for this relationship, the way that he handles himself around, his potential son and his love interest. I really love the Klaus character. I think he's just brilliant, especially the scenes he has with Ned. I think that's probably the funniest moment in the film is when he slaps Ned and tells him if he's got it. And then later on in the film, Ned will come back and slap him back and say, now we're even. And Klaus is like, no, we cannot be even.
You already wanted me once.
What? Why'd you do that?
Because I owed you one.
But you gave me a warning already. You stood up for yourself.
I still owed you one.
Now I owe you one.
No, now we even.
And sort of the last scene between the two of them when they sort of salute each other, and it's like, well, they've sort of got this brotherly love, sharing this adopted dad figure.
Yes,
you know.
yes.
And so there's all these little small nuanced moments that just brings you to love all of these characters in this ensemble cast. Some great scenes in the film, brilliant filmmaking. I can't really say too many bad things about Wes Anderson films because I'm kind of biased. I love all of his work. I think it's just an estranged collection of films, and I can't wait to see what this director produces next. I definitely recommend The Life Aquatic. It is a joyride of a film. It's not your typical action guns blazing film because it sort of balances this drama with this action, with this dark comedy, with these brilliant characters. It is a great film, and it's one that stands up on repeat viewings, and it's one of the best Wes Anderson films in his collection, in my opinion.
I fucking recommend it. Watch it. Don't watch it. I don't give a shit. I'm going to watch it again. Tomorrow. Right now. Turn this off. I'm going to go watch it now.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Are you sure?
Yes, I am.
I don't understand. Why?
What do you mean? Wait a second, what are we doing? You said cross the line if...
Cross the line if you're going to quit.
Oh. Do it again. I misunderstood.